2009, I had a massive heart attack. 12 weeks after the first one, I had the second heart attack. Right? In 2000, towards the end of 2005, my business took off. I'm not working Accenture schedule. I'm working my own schedule. And then suddenly you get caught up in, oh, I wonder if I can get that contract also. And I was working more than I was working when I was at Accenture, and then I had $1 million contracts. Now, everybody talks about Julius Caesar, but it wasn't the Caesars that I was enamored with. I was enamored more with their philosophy.
Yeah.
You can live life in regret, or live life in thankfulness, in gratitude.
Absolutely.
In today's world, you don't have that luxury. So that's the thing. You cannot go by what society says. Being courageous is not the absence of fear.
Yeah.
You get old, right? You don't have the luxury to sit and just contemplate. Socrates. I personally, I've learned more from when I was challenged, when I failed, when I fell down.
So tell me about your journey from India to America.
Oh my God! I left when I was so young, but I've been between the UK and India, during my childhood. So it's kind of like it's a weird journey, right? But at 17, I was out here studying, and then life just unfolded. So at my age, that is so far in the past. You're talking about 41 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
It's for lack of a better word, it's ancient, obsolete history. There's nothing dramatic about it.
So when you shifted to America, what you thought, like, what you had in mind? Do you remember about anything like moving to America?
Oh yeah, no. Actually, I do remember a few things. In fact, some of them I've written in my book. If not now, when? All right. So when I flew first into America, my flight got canceled.
Okay.
So I landed from London into Newark, New Jersey, and my flight from Newark to Cleveland got canceled. And I had traveled before, coming from Europe, I had traveled to America before, so it wasn't a big deal for me. I just, looked up. In those days, you didn't have internet and stuff. I pulled out the phone book at the airport, I landed like midnight, right? Found a motel, called them. I said, hey, I'm going to stay there for a night. They said, okay. And it was like, okay, fine, I'll be there. And then I went to collect my luggage, and my luggage was somewhere else. I think it landed in Columbus or something. That I don't remember which city, but not the city I was supposed to be in.
Yeah.
So I go in there, I do my thing, and then basically the next morning they delivered my luggage to the airport, to the motel. I took a cab. I went down to the university campus, got myself registered. And by, I think, 2:00 or so in the afternoon, I was in my dorm room sleeping. And then this guy comes looking for me. And then somebody knocks on the dorm room door. I answer. This guy, he's like, we thought you're lost. We're looking for you. Why? Well, we sent this liaison person for you. So they saw my name is Indian. So they sent a liaison person in case you don't speak English or something like that. I'm like, hey, I'm all squared away. I need some sleep. So I'll see you later.
Weird journey, right? A lot of problems on the first one. So
I mean, that's life, life, you should be prepared to face the unknown. Nothing in life happens. I say this to people all the time. Nothing in life happens as you plan. Okay, as a matter of fact, this is one of the things my mom told me, 40, 50 years ago. She said 80+% of the things that will happen in your life are things that you cannot control, that are out of your control completely. Okay? You cannot control when there's traffic. You cannot control when a flight gets delayed. What you can control is how you react to it, right? That you can control, and that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, even we plan for the things like, okay, today my daily schedule is this, I'm going to do this, but in end of the day, it's just totally different, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot plan. Yes, you can plan. I mean, I was a strategist for 38 years, so yes, I did a lot of planning. But the things you can plan for are not the things that end up happening. All right, and planning is important, but flexibility is even more important.
Yeah. I mean, and you can say there's a joy when unplanned things happen because a new experience happen and something which is out of your control. So you learn a lot of things from that experience or things which are happening to you, right? If everything happened according to your plan, then everything was supposed to be perfect, right?
Well, life will be very boring.
Yeah, it would be.
You think about it. If I say, hey, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do this, this, and this, and all of those things happen, and then I go to bed, that's a boring life.
Yeah.
It's when unplanned things happen, when challenges happen, they give you the opportunity to grow. I personally, I've learned more from when I was challenged, when I failed, when I fell down, than I learned when I succeeded. Because when I succeed, I don't look back at that, right? And more often than not, I may have made a mistake somewhere. I have, okay? And guess what? The next time I repeat the mistake and the result is not the same. But the first time I didn't analyze it because, hey, I succeeded. So I must have done it all right.
Yeah.
You learn more when you fail.
Yeah, failing is important, right? Failing is very important, and people think failing is bad, right? Especially in India, if you fail, society sees you as a total and complete failure, right? They think that you can't succeed anywhere else. If you fail in an exam, oh, then you're useless. And I think
Well, I mean, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
one thing I like about America is that they celebrate the failure, right? They encourage people to even go and try even more. Not just like one time, but yeah, do people would not just celebrate failure every time in America do, but they would encourage people to go ahead and try one more time because failing is beautiful. You learn from it. If you don't fail, then there is no joy for success, right?
Right. And the thing is, it's not, and I said this, when you and I talked to set this up, by the way, before I forget, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and converse with your audience.
I'm
When we
honored.
set
I'm
this
honored to
up,
have you.
you know, uh, we talked about, hey, I put out these videos and stuff. And one of the things in one of those videos, I say, it's not important. How many times you fall down is not important. How many times you get up matters. And in one of my, I think it was one of my live streams on my Bravo Motivation channel, I talk about Edison. Yes, he invented the light bulb.
Yeah.
Like several thousand times he failed.
10,000 times you fail.
Right.
That's what I have learned.
And,
Yeah.
and when people asked him, well, you failed so many times, his response was, no, I didn't fail. I just learned how not to make a light bulb that many times.
Yeah. And that is the thing which I learned from watching Elon Musk, right? Whenever his starship exploded, people were like, no, he just wasted his money. But you're not watching that he learned how not to land a starship, right? What's the how not to do that thing, how not to do that thing, like. So yeah, failing is important because you learn, yeah, you don't have to do the things in that way, right? So you can do it in right way.
Right. As long as you learn from it, right? Now, if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again and expect different results, and you
Yeah.
didn't learn anything, guess what? That ain't going to help you.
Obviously, you take the lessons from the first failure, then you improve it. If you fail second time, you take the lessons from them. You take the data from that failure, and then you improve more. That's the thing, right? If you don't do that, you just keep failing. Then it's useless.
I mean, one of your podcasts, you mentioned something about a growth mindset and continuous learning.
Yeah.
Life is about continuous learning. Okay,
Yeah.
life doesn't stand still. Technology doesn't stand still. The atmosphere doesn't stand still. So it doesn't matter whether you're a few years old or you're close to 60 like me. You have to continuously be willing to learn. That's what will make life exciting, interesting, and fulfilling.
Yeah. Even if you see people think that learning period is just when you are till college, or when you till hit the age 30, then you don't have to learn, then just live your life. No, you have to learn. If you keep learning, the most successful people we see, and I think you know that, they keep learning. They have the one common trait, and that is that they keep learning, right?
Uh, 100%, right? I'll give you another example. Okay, today we are talking on, we talked about setting this up, and you said you're going to send me a link, and
Yeah,
I took my BryoCam and got it all done, right? When I was going to college, okay, in the early 1980s to mid 1980s, right? Yeah, long, long ago.
yeah,
Guess what? The only computer we had was a mainframe, and you had to go to the computer lab. You had to sign up. There was a sign-in sheet, and then you'd get like 15 minutes of time. Okay, from 7:15 to 7:30, if you're lucky, to 7:45 p.m., where you could go and try your thing, whatever it was you're working on. You could go try it out in those 15 to 30 minutes because computer time was so precious, and you'd have to
yeah.
sign up like a week in advance. I mean, today, your
Yeah.
watch is a computer, your phone is a computer. Now, you can imagine if I had said, "Hey, guess what? I'm done with college. I'm done learning." Compared to where we are now, I was in the Stone Age. I was still
Yeah, yeah. Imagine just 15 minutes, for just 15 minutes of a commuter time, you have to book uh,
a week in
in a week
advance.
advance. Yeah. Damn. It was then, it would be hard learning stuff back then. Like, you don't have the internet, but you had the books.
Yeah, we spent hours in the library, and then if the book, and that was another thing, right?
Yeah.
So yes, you bought certain books, but then there were reference books that were not available to buy, and or too price prohibitive to buy. So you would there again go and put yourself on the wait list because some other student had checked it out and you knew he was going to return it in 48 hours. So there'll be 4 people in line waiting for that book. So yes, it was interesting. It was challenging. And all those movies that you see where there's the 800 students sitting in the library pouring through books. Well, that's how it was.
Same. Okay. But I think it was great. Like, if you watch Young Generation, internet had bad effects, but at back then you were having a good habit of reading, right? Reading is a good thing. I think reading is better than watching. You read faster than watch something.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Okay. For example, yes, reading is good, but learning is the important part. So if you learn through reading or you learn through watching, how is that different, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
you know, and, and even with the reading part, right? You think about it. I could have read educational books. I could read comic books. No different than watching. People can watch something they will learn from, or people can watch some of the other stuff that has maybe have entertainment value but not educational value, right? Your videos, for example, have both entertainment and educational value, and that's kind of
yeah,
what you're shooting for. It doesn't have to be boring.
no. But in right now we have a lot of distractions right now. What were the distractions back then?
Oh my God! Outside, we have sports, fishing, all kinds of things. I mean, we would be outdoors. We'd get into trouble. I don't mean trouble as in trouble with the law, but
Yeah,
you know, doing things outside, and there's always distractions. It's just depending on where you are, the distractions are different. Right?
but that was a good thing, right? Having an outdoor distraction is good. Like, just right now you're sitting in your room and just scrolling through
Well, not
shorts and
so.
reels.
So yes, so I say, like, I'm going to put this very, very delicately, right? And this is a lesson I've learned. Okay, when my son was 15, 16, he would ask me to buy him computer games. Computer games and other like Nintendo and whatever else games. And then I would buy him those things, and 2 days later he's done, and I'm like, "What did you do?" He says, "Oh, there's this website cheat code something, and if you hit control and this and that, and it jumps to the next level." And I'm going, "Well, I'm spending the money buying you games, and you're not even playing with it." right?
Yeah.
What's the point? So him and I had a lot of discussions and disagreements. Okay. But, guess what he ended up doing? He's a cryptologist in the Navy. He breaks codes for a living, right? So
That's a cool stuff.
what he was doing playing built him a career. He's now, what old is he? He's 32, almost 33. He's in the Navy. He has a great career. He's a petty officer, a high-ranking petty officer. And he has built a career for himself, breaking codes.
Damn. He found his niche, right?
Exactly. And you don't know where it shows up, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
was thinking like this, with my blinders on, you're wasting your time playing games.
yeah, yeah. Finding your niche by applying cheat codes on the computer game which you dad buy. It's interesting. So can you share a story of a time when you took a significant risk and how that shaped your life or career?
Absolutely. In 2004, I was working for it. Well, it was Anderson Consulting. I worked a significant portion of my earlier career at Anderson Consulting that later became Accenture. And I got promoted to a partner at Anderson Consulting, or Accenture at that time. And when I got promoted, after 6 months, I resigned. Okay. Everyone thought I was insane, including my mentor. His name is Phil Karai. And he's like, what are you doing? Your career is set. And I said, well, if I'm good enough to run a book of business for Anderson Consulting or Accenture, I'm good enough to run my own business. So my wife and I, and the kids were young then, we kind of looked up our finances and we had enough saved to survive for a year and a half. I walked away from that and I started a business. Okay. And Accenture's salary is excellent. I mean, even in those days in 2004, you're talking upwards of 200,000. Okay. Walked away from that, started a business. My first 6 months out, I made 20,000. The next
Oh,
6
wow.
months, I made nothing. Okay.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
And you know what? But I'm like, I told my wife, we have our savings. We're careful. We'll keep going. Right. In 2000, towards the end of 2005, my business took off, and then I had $1 million contracts all the way through the pandemic until 2021. I believe it was November when I said, you know what, I'm done with this, and walked away.
Wow. One risk changed a life.
It did, and lessons too. I mean, so for example, you're seeing this big Bravo motivation behind me, right? In 2009, I think 2009, I had a massive heart attack. Okay, I came within, and it wasn't anything related to health or anything. Like, I worked out a lot. I used to lift 300 pounds when I was younger, but I had a genetic thing and it caught up with me. Everybody on my mom's side of the family has had a heart attack in their 30s or early 40s. Mine was so severe that, the doctors told my wife, hey, within probably another 2 minutes, they wouldn't have been able to revive me. So I was, at that time, I was still driving hard. Okay. I mean, I was all about, next goal, next goal, next goal in life. And I should have learned with that first kick in the pants, but some people, they have a very thick skull. So I didn't. So after I recovered from that first heart attack, and it took me about, I think, 3-4 weeks, I went back into work and I charging again. 12 weeks after the first one, I had the second heart attack. That's when I said, hey, what am I doing with my life? Right? Is this really important? And then I started thinking about, what do I want to do the rest of my life? Because at that point, I was 42 years old. Yes, we have to work. I wasn't going to walk away from that career, that I'd built my company. But I started splitting my time between running that organization and motivating people. Yeah. I wrote a book called Remember Thou Art Mortal. And prior to that, I'd written books on business strategy, things like that, 5 of them. So this was book number 6. And it was about living life with heart issues and making changes in your life. And that basically received some awards, reader review awards and things like that. And then a year after that, I wrote a book called If Not Now, When? And it's based on this principle called Bravo motivation. Bravo standing for believe, recognize, act, visualize, and obtain. And it teaches you how to live life, not just working, right? Achieve that kind of right balance between work and life. Now, there are times when work will be more important. There are times when life will be more important. I mean, you can't just say it's 50-50. I'm going to work from 9 to 5 and then stop. That's not how it works. It goes in phases, but you have to have that right balance. And then over the course of so from 2014, when I created Bravo Motivation, the next 7 years, I spent gradually drifting away from my consulting contracts and focusing more on motivation. And that was the second big change in life.
How did this thought came into your mind, like I should just retire from a job and let's start this power motivation thing?
A couple of two different things. First thing is like the title of the first book, Remember Thou Art Mortal.
Yeah,
When my body was shutting down, my brain was shutting down during the first heart attack. I don't know if it's a movie you've probably not seen. It's a very old movie called History of the World. But yeah, I know you haven't. It's from the 1970s.
I have just watched The Godfather from the 1970s.
So there is a Roman general returning back from war, and in those times, whenever somebody approached Caesar, right, the crier or the announcer would hold oak leaves over that person's head and say, "Remember, General, thou art mortal." Remember them. Somehow my brain, when I was like dying, literally, was playing that. And I woke up and told my wife, "It's so weird." In my head, it kept saying, "Remember, thou art mortal." So one of the first things my cardiologist told me after uh, the second heart attack, she said, "Hey, more than likely you're going to have a third one because there's 3 arteries." And she says, one by one, they're failing, which I did. I think that was in 3 years later in 2012. But she said, having that kind of a life event causes people to be depressed. So she was suggesting you need to get some therapy. And I'm like, I don't think I need therapy, but let's talk in a few weeks. And a few weeks later, she looks at me, she says, "You're just a positive guy, aren't you?" I'm like, "Well, I woke up, I saw sky and not roots." So, hey, yeah, of course. And she asked me to speak to some of the other heart attack survivors that were her patients and talk about how to be positive. That led me thinking towards how to be positive and how to motivate. So that was kind of like that driving factor. Hence, there's a pre-heart attack and then a post-heart attack shift towards motivation.
That's an incredible thing. After the second heart attack, you were still positive, saying, "I watched the sky and I'm so good." Damn.
No, I made that into a joke. I tell people, it's a great day when I wake up and see sky and not roots. And most people either agree with me or say, why? I say, because if I wake up and see roots, my wife buried me while I was sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, people say that, I'm not happy, or I don't think my life is worth, and I don't feel like living. You're like, just go outside and see the sky. You will feel so happy to be alive on this wonderful planet, wonderful, beautiful planet, right?
Every moment is a gift. See, nobody is guaranteed one moment to the
Yeah.
other, right? And celebrating that, appreciating that you have time. Right? I mean, you can always live and want.
Yeah.
I want this, I want that, I want the next biggest thing. I forget who it was that said it. You may know this better than I.
He was, I guess, Naval Ravikant.
Say again.
Naval Ravikant. I guess Naval said this.
No, I don't think. Let me tell you the statement, and you may know. But the person said, I lamented the fact that I did not have any shoes until I saw a man who did not have any feet.
No.
And
I've
I
heard
don't
that
remember
thing.
who said it off the top of my head. But that's the thing. It's
Yeah,
you can live life in regret, or live life in thankfulness, in gratitude.
yeah. The same code goes by like a person who is walking wishes to have a cycle, a person who have a cycle wishes to have a motorcycle, a person who has a
Exactly.
motorcycle wishes to have a car, a person who has a car wishes to have a private jet, right? So yeah, this ends never get satisfied, right? People always want more, and I think that
Well,
is
always.
good.
And that's the thing with materialistic things. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying.
I mean, the desire for wanting more. Do you think it is good?
To a point, right? To a
Yeah,
point. But when you get consumed by materialism, okay, wanting more is good, because if you didn't wanting more, that's your ambition, right? But also knowing when to stop, when to enjoy what you have is equally important. You think about this, right? Let's say, you decided person is a manager, hypothetically, and they want to become a senior manager. So they start working, right? They keep working. They work hard, 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 and suddenly they become a senior manager. Well, now would be the time to enjoy that, appreciate that you've accomplished something, right? And appreciate or share that with your family, with your friends, with your close people, not gloat, just share. Or you could say, okay, now I'm senior manager, now I want to be director. Well, now your life becomes a treadmill, because there will always be one more rung you got to climb, right?
yeah.
And that's so when you get into this mode where success is everything and I want more and more, there will always be more. Okay, there will
Yeah.
always be somebody who has, like you said, the car
Yeah.
guy wants a jet there.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, you got to be content enough to enjoy life, not to give up your ambition, just not to be driven only by ambition.
Being ambitious is good because that that is gonna boost you to achieve your dreams, right?
Absolutely. Ambition is good. But if that is all you have, right? All you're driven by is ambition, then you're living on a treadmill. The exercise that you keep walking, you're going nowhere, because there's always one more rung to climb.
When should people realize like, okay, I should stop and enjoy some time here on earth with the family?
Well, along the way, right? Along the way. And don't get
So
me wrong, I'm guilty, just as guilty. The corporate world is very addictive. There's a book somebody has written, not me, where she says, workaholics are the respectable addicts. Okay? Because if a person drinks or does drugs as much as they work, people will look down on them. But if a person just continues working, you get rewarded more and more. Right? That's reinforcing your behavior, reinforcing your addiction to where work becomes everything. Okay, but it is also an addiction, and I was that way. I mean, to me, hey, once I started, when I initially started my business, first 6 months, I told my wife, oh yeah, you know what, honey, here's the thing, we're going to spend more time, family time. I'm not working Accenture schedule, I'm working my own schedule. And then suddenly you get caught up in, oh, I wonder if I can get that contract also, and I was working more than I was working when I was at Accenture.
yeah.
Right? But then after the heart attack, when the doctor said, hey, literally you came within a minute or two and we wouldn't have been able to revive you. What if they hadn't revived me that day? What would I be looking back on?
So that incident had a big impact on your life, and for every decision you make, you think about from that perspective, like what if I was not revived that day?
Oh, no. That is a fleeting discussion or a fleeting thought. Okay. Yeah, I think at that moment, what if? But once a moment has passed, right? You use that moment to learn, and then you look forward. You know, if the higher being wanted us to look back, he would have put our eyes in the back of our head, not in front of us. So, yes, you got to, when something happens, you got to analyze that for a period of time. And then you say, okay, I learned from it. I see what I did wrong. What can I do better? What can I do next?
Yeah, that's called the growth mindset, right?
That is the growth mindset. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, people are like always stuck on the past on or are always depressed on the mistake they have made on the past, and they're not realizing that they have a wonderful opportunity in the present to make their future better. What would you say to them?
Well, think of it this way, right? Every day you wake up, okay? You have the rest of your life to look forward to. It doesn't matter if you're 12, 15, 20, 59. You wake up, whatever from that point till the time you're going to end, you have that to look forward to. What happened, you cannot go back and change. Anybody that says, I wish I can change that. No, you cannot. It's in the past.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a time machine yet, but if you have, let me know. I'd like to go back, to 2001 or 1995 and buy some Amazon stock.
Yeah, I would buy some Bitcoin.
But the point is, that's in the past, right? I mean, I can
Yeah.
sit and oh my God, I wish I'd bought Amazon stock back then when it was, $30 a share, right? That doesn't help. That is not going to accomplish anything. What I can look at is, hey, what can I do today to accomplish whatever I want to do for the next 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, tomorrow, right? Because that is still happening.
Yeah. Tell me about this. You were at the times when the internet was booming, right? Why didn't you buy the shares for
Well,
Amazon,
so
Facebook?
I don't trade individual stocks. In the US, you have some portfolios, and they're kind of called index fund portfolios, and they track the broader index. Okay, while I'm very financially literate, I'd like to think I am not a stock trading expert. That is not my forte, right? I let some fund manager do that for me, right?
Yeah.
Somebody I trust, okay? And when my nature has always been, when I find trust in somebody, I stay with them for long periods of time. I mean, our family accountant, my wife and I met him in 2004 when I started my own business. He had just started his own accounting business, and I was one of his first few clients, and he was working out of a small room. And we have stayed friends. We've been to, his or participated in his daughter's weddings and things like that. And now, 21 years later, we are still friends. He's still my accountant, right? But we grew together. Now he has a large, gigantic company. He has a whole building and 30 accountants working for him. But we grew that journey together. So it is important. Relationships, that again, relationships are very important.
What are the traits that when you see in the people, then you think that you can trust them?
I wouldn't even say it's a feeling more than a trait. Okay.
Gut
So
feeling.
my basic, so let me start off with my basic instinct is to believe that humans are basically good.
But
Okay,
we
when
know
we had a
humans are.
conversation, right? When we had a conversation, you and I, what was it, 3, 4, 5 days ago, or when we had that first email exchange. Now I could look at it, oh my God, I wonder if he's trying to scam me. No, right? There's a lot of internet scamming going on, right?
Yeah.
So I could have thought that way, but I'm like, no, let me talk to the individual, and you will get a sense, right? And guess what? You can get fooled, but people cannot fool you for a long period of time. You can get
Yeah.
fooled for a moment. You can get when somebody breaks your trust once, then you got to be very cautious with that individual and decide, hey, do I want to keep playing this game further? That's when you put your guards up. But until then, give them the benefit of the doubt.
But you can't do that every time, right? That's gonna hurt your business and your life too.
No, no. I would see. Think of it this way, right? I could have said, hey, I don't know. I got this email from this strange guy telling me he wants to do his podcast. He's a scammer. Let me delete it. Done. Would we be having this conversation?
No.
Right? Now had I called you and had we gotten on that call and you're like, hey, tell me your social security number or tell me your bank account number, yeah, my radar would go up, right? And at that point,
Yeah.
I'll start building the walls. But you have to trust. Had I not trusted my accountant, had I gone to a big firm in 2004, I'll tell you this, my accountant is still charging me the same amount annually that he was charging me in 2004. And he promised me, he said, hey, until I die, or until he dies, he will charge me the same amount. He says, because you were my first few clients that gave me a start. Right? And he says, hey, after I'm gone, I cannot say what the company will do, but as long as I'm alive, I'll charge you the same amount. But because I trusted him. Now, had he given me reason not to trust him, I would have taken my business elsewhere. So you are going to get, stung once in a while in business, but you cannot live life with guard up and fear, right? Think of all the things you trust. You wake up in the morning, you put your legs on the side of the bed, you're trusting that floor is solid, right?
Yeah. Nice perspective.
It could be quicksand.
Yeah.
Right? You're trusting what your eyes see is solid. Okay. When you're driving at night, right, or riding your motorcycle, I saw you riding the other day. When you're riding, at night,
Yeah.
okay, how far does your headlight go? 200 feet, 300 feet, right? You're assuming that beyond that 300 feet, there is still road.
Yeah.
Right? If you treat life with fear and say, well, that might be a cliff after the 300 feet that I can see, you'd never drive. Would you? Because
No.
you'd be like, oh, there might be a cliff there. So you cannot live life with fear. You have to trust. And if you get burned, then you make the changes. Another lesson, right? We learn from failure. So if you get burned, it's a lesson. Now you know not to trust that person.
I was reading this book by Naval only, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, in which he said that if you want to start a business, you should look for the people who are smart, and you should look for the people who are not pessimist or cynic because they're gonna hurt you, and they should be working harder. Not just like working harder, they should be smart, because then they'll be just keep working harder, and then they'll go in the wrong direction. So they have to be smart, they have to work harder, and they have some integrity. Like they should have some integrity, otherwise they're gonna just cheat you and just take some money from a business, and it's just gonna go away. So you have done businesses, right?
Yeah. I ran my own business, two of them actually, the Uchil Group and Uchil LLC, from 2004 to 2021 when I shut it down. And now I still have Bravo Motivation, which is a coaching business for business executives and people making life changes. I don't do a whole lot with that anymore. I do have one or two very select clients there. Primarily, like I said, on my channel, everything that I have, I'm putting it out there for free
Yeah.
so that I can share that knowledge. You talked about when it is enough. Well, what I have is enough. Now I'm trying to share the knowledge, right? And you talked about, people with business, with people with integrity, yes, it's important. But how do you find out that integrity? You find out
Yes.
whether they have that or not by giving them the chance, by trusting them, right? I'm not saying, as soon as you meet somebody, open your doors, open your safe, and say, hey, come look.
Yeah.
But you got to have a basic level of trust, right? Yes, be cautious, but trust. Get started, and then see if they give you reason to keep trusting or do not. And people will change. Somebody you can trust today may not be the same person you can trust tomorrow,
Yeah.
because you
People
don't
can
know what
change
they
anytime. Yeah.
you don't know what they get influenced by.
Yeah.
People can get influenced, people can get greedy, right? An honest person today does not mean they're honest tomorrow. They may change.
Yeah. We have learned that from history, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The king, the Roman Empire, yeah, all of that. Yeah. Are you interested? Have you read about Roman Empire?
I'm sorry, have I read about
Roman Empire.
the Roman Empire? Yes, I have.
Yeah, I'm also too obsessed with it. Who was your favorite king?
Actually, they all had their own qualities, right? Now, everybody talks about Julius Caesar, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the Caesars that I was enamored with. I was enamored more with their philosophers,
Yeah, the philosopher
Marcus
was.
Aurelius,
Yeah.
because all they did was think. You know,
Absolutely.
in today's world, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
You get old, right? You don't have that luxury to sit and just contemplate. Socrates, they thought, they just contemplated the universe. But if
Yeah.
you didn't have those people then, half the things we know now, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to know that the books of like the meditation, which was he didn't even knew that this book was gonna get released. He was not even writing a book; he was just writing his journal. And when you read it, you realize this knowledge was like how much, like 2,000 years ago, almost. Like he was from 80 AD or something. Right? It's just amazing. It's so fascinating to know that we had people like with this intellectual back then. He was the student of Epictetus, right? Marcus was the student
Right.
of Epictetus. I loved him. This book is just amazing. But my favorite king was the son which Caesar adopted, Octavian.
Okay.
Right?
Caesar
Yeah,
Octavius. Yeah.
yeah. I just loved it. Like he was a good king, I can say. He did some good works. United the Roman. Yeah. After the Mark Antony, he I guess killed him. The Mark Antony. After
Yes,
that,
Mark
yeah,
Anthony. Yeah.
yeah. It is great. The Roman Empire is such a fascinating thing to read about. You realize that they were having such well structured things back then, like where other people were just living in woods. And before the Christ was even born, like 2000 BC before. It was so amazing to see that.
But what happened to them?
Yeah, yeah.
See,
Even the well
and that's the
structured.
thing about when people want more and more and get materialistic, right? You look at the Romans, they were the center of the universe, they were epic, they were learned, and then as they got along, they devolved into basically materialism in a different way, right? They got materialistic, but more hedonistic. All they thought about was, pleasure, right? And then that pleasure led to cruelty. Let's throw people to the lions and see what happens. And then the Roman Empire was gone.
Yeah, it was just gone in a brink. they
But
had,
goes
they
to
had,
prove that nothing is permanent.
yeah, nothing is. Even they were the most powerful kingdom at that time. They had so many good structured buildings, such a great philosophers. Still, Marcus was such a great king, right? Marcus was such a great king, but he still made a mistake by choosing his son as a successor, right? That was, I guess, the biggest mistake of his life. He was such a great
Well,
thinker. It's still, I mean, there is usually not a day that I don't think about the Roman Empire. I haven't read Indian history that much, but the Roman thing is just different. It's a different thing. The best thing is that the philosophers, obviously, and
but you
the
have them
people.
in Indian culture as well. I mean, if you
Indian,
look at the Vedas, you look at the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, you have those kind of lessons there as well. I mean, and the Indian culture is just as old, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, you have a culture that lets you be who you want to be. You know, a person in India can say, "Hey, for today, I see God in a tree," right, and
Yeah.
worship that tree, and people don't think they're insane, right? If I try to do that here in the U.S., they'll probably put me in a straitjacket and send me to a mental asylum. But the thing is, it is such a diverse and rich culture, right? The Indian culture. Don't get me wrong; every culture has its own
Yeah.
uh, merits, demerits. Nothing is good or bad. Okay,
Yeah.
everything has two sides, right? The same thing that makes you good also makes you bad when
Bad.
you take it that one step further. And I talk about working. Working hard is good, but when you get so addicted to working and you become a workaholic, guess what? That's bad. So that doesn't mean work is bad, right? But see, there's nothing in life is binary. That's not good or bad. You know, they exist within all of us, within humans, cultures, countries. There are two sides to each coin. It's just how far you're willing to push it.
Yeah, you're talking about workaholic, like yeah. So when you just said the term workaholic, I was just thinking about like yeah, Elon. You can call him a workaholic, but you see his results. Recently, there was a meme. There was a meme when everybody said like, "Wow, I just did my emails. I did this presentation. My week was productive." And there was Elon Musk. He launched the robots. He catch the booster with the chopsticks. That's what I call it. Uh, he did so many things in the span of 1 week, right? So, what do you think about like if you watch Elon, his work schedule, how many hours he put? What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, maybe that works for him, right? Different things work for different people, right? And there's nothing, if that is his goal, you know. Now he's new, right? I'm when I think about my time, I think about Steve Jobs, you know, uh, uh, God, my brain just stopped. Amazon,
Warren was
Bezos, Jeff
invested.
Bezos, Amazon, right? They all started with, just like he is doing with the rockets and things, they all started with nothing, and created empires. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, right? These are all people that started with, no, they had a concept, you know, and they created all these things, right?
What do
So
you
go ahead.
what do you admire about Steve Jobs?
About Jobs,
Yeah.
well, all of those people, right? Anybody, right, who has accomplished these things, they accomplished it in face of adversity because everybody looked at them and thought, hey, this can't be done, right? In history, you'll see people like that. And they said, no, you know what, I'll find a way. Okay. And that goes for whether you're talking about Jobs, Musk, whoever, right? I mean, you think about, okay, my generation, you think about Amitabh Bachchan, right? When I mean, yes, he's way beyond your generation or way before your generation.
Yeah.
But apparently, when he tried to get into the movies, they said to him, "You're too tall, you're too dark, you're never going to make it in the movies." Well, he could have gone back to his little village and said, "Okay, I'm done," but he didn't. So persevering in the face of adversity, and that's what each of these people do. Right? They have that concept in their head, and they will strive to accomplish that. So it doesn't matter who it is, right? But it's that drive, that self belief, and that's what I'm going back. I'm not promoting Bravo motivation, but I'm talking about the first thing you got to do is believe.
Yeah.
Each of these people believe that they can do something, right? And that is the beginning of it. Edison believed he could create a light bulb, and he never let that belief shake, right? And I'm sure same way, Elon Musk believed he can make a rocket land on a platform, right? And he never shook that belief. Or Steve Jobs, said, hey, I can make this computer that's in a room, I can stick it in a small footprint.
I mean, they had such a strong beliefs, right? The whole world was against them. The whole world was against Elon, saying that no, this is not possible. You can't land a rocket. NASA was telling him that's not impossible, but he still did it. So just imagine, like, if a normal people, like somebody tells them you can't do this, and they're gonna believe it. Okay, I think he's right. I can't do this. But these people had such a belief system, such a belief in themselves, in their goals, that they were like, no, I don't care about even. I know I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. And these people write history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I talk about Bravo motivation, and when I talk to somebody, here's what I tell them. I said, if you believe that you can, or if you believe that you cannot, you're right. Either way, you're right. Because what you believe is going to happen. Okay. I'm not going to try and convince you that, hey, you can do this. If you don't believe you can do it, you're right.
Nobody else would could. Yeah.
If you believe you can do it, you're right.
The most important thing is that you have to believe, right? If you have belief, then you can do it. If you don't, if you don't believe, then it's just nobody can help. Even God can't help you, right?
No, the thing is having that self-belief. I mean, you think about, when I go back to me, right? 2004, a lot of people thought I was insane. I was like, you know what? I will start a business. I will make it run. Okay. I will create it from nothing, right? Started a consulting business. People thought I was insane. And this may not be a story that you're familiar with in India, but when Hernando Cortez landed in South America, the Spanish conqueror, he burned all his ships. Okay, as soon as they hit the shores, he burned all his ships. You know why he did that? Because his people had only one choice. They could either fight and make or conquer the area and make houses there, or they would die on the beach. They couldn't turn back and run. So they were very motivated. Think about that, right? He burned, as soon as he landed on the shores of South America, he burned his ships. So his soldiers had to fight inwards. They had nowhere to run to.
Yeah, he left no options. Yeah. And that is great too. Like, the thing about human is that if they see a little bit of hope, like, okay, I can run away from this, then they would go for that. Instead of, I think the human tendency is to always look for the things which are more easy. Not every people, but some people. It's just the brain, right? If somebody is not in the control of their brain, they are always gonna go for the easy task.
Right.
Like, for example,
trust me, easy doesn't mean it's bad. Okay?
Yeah.
No, easy doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, you look at, okay, if you don't have to go through every obstacle, right? When you have a stream of water and it comes across a rock, it doesn't try to break the rock; it just goes around it. Okay. So sometimes the best way is just to go around an obstacle. You don't have to go through it, right? Easy or hard remains to be seen. But the point is that
Yeah.
you got to be willing to put the effort to go past that obstacle. How you go past it is up to you.
Do you know David Goggins?
No, I'm not familiar with.
He's the guy. He's a retired Navy SEAL. He talks about callousing your mind, going through obstacles. After the podcast, just look through him. He's very inspirational. The story is, his dad used to torture him and all of this stuff. He used to, like, just bully him, abuse him. And his mother was in the same household, and his dad didn't provide any financial security to his mother and David and his older brother. After some time, after all of this, David's mother decided to just run away with their child. They did. He's a black. It's the story in 1990s, right? He is 40 years older, right? 40 and more. So he said he was talking about like, I went through so many obstacles and I was just thinking like to run away from them and to take that as an excuse. But I did what? I choose that, and I took all the hate which I was getting, and I used it in my mind and to make me myself stronger. And I went through it, callousing my mind, and I worked and I got what I wanted. He did the Navy SEAL Hell Week 3 times. Like, his foot got broke, his knee was totally fucked up, but he still did that, right? He ran 300 miles. Right? It's a very inspirational story about David Goggins. So
I will look him up. But
he
it
talks,
goes to prove, right, the strength of the human spirit.
yeah, that's what he's preaching. He has just mastered his whole brain, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Andrew Huberman. There's a
Mhm.
YouTube channel out there. If you're familiar with that, he was on that podcast. I love Huberman. His podcasts are great. So he was talking about that, and he was talking about mastering your mind, and he did that. I think David is the kind of guy that who has mastered his mind. He can do anything. You throw him anything. He said, okay, my name is David Goggins, but you don't know me. I created Goggins. I created the guy who could take all shit and achieve the things he want to achieve. Like, it's great. I read his story. It's unbelievable story. And I was like, his character is just too strong, and it's not, he's not just into comfortable things, right? If you tell him that it's a very cozy night, your missus in your bed, you are sleeping in the warm blankets, he will say, keep telling me that, I will still go and run. He has just totally mastered his mind, and he's preaching how to do that. It's just great. you know he said that there will be two options. If something is ahead of you, you'll think of either of running away, or you'll think just, no, I'm gonna do it. And then you'll think like there are so many people that have the victim mentality, right? Like, if something bad is happening in their life, they'll be like, why all the bad things are happening to me? And he's the type of guy who will tell, oh, this is so less, throw some more hard obstacles to me. you know just imagine, he went through the hell week 3 times, and I think Navy SEAL is the hardest training in all over the
Yes.
world.
Yes.
And he did that 3 times. He feared water. Let me tell you that he feared swimming in water. That was his biggest fear, and he conquered that. So when I look into like what things can human brain do, I look into his story, then I learn that if somebody masters his mind, he can do anything. I guess Marcus Aurelius.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. You and goes down to belief, right?
yeah,
You have to believe in yourself, right? That is 90% of the battle, right? 90% of the battle is believing. The rest of it is technicality, right?
yeah,
And just because you believe doesn't mean it's going to happen. But because you believe, you will start, right? If you don't ask, okay, the answer is always going to be no. So by not asking, you set yourself up for failure. Like, you think about it, if you hadn't reached out to me and
yeah.
said, hey, can I speak with you? Right? I may have answered yes, I may have answered no, but by just taking that step, your chances went from 0 to 50-50.
Yeah, that happened. When I was approaching a people, then I was like, maybe he will not come. Maybe I should not approach because, like, see, I'm starting this podcast. Okay, I am still learning. Okay, I still, like, I have planned that I was going to do everything perfect, but still, I shudder sometimes. I hesitate sometimes. I think a lot, but I can't put it into words. So it happens. But it's like you're gonna improve slowly by slowly, step by step. If you're thinking like because of this you're not gonna even do the podcast, then how are you gonna learn, right? So it's just that thing. You're absolutely right on that thing. Like, I was thinking about just messaging you only at that time. Like, should I approach him? He's too elder. Will he have a chat with me or
They
not?
call
And
me
I'm
old on the podcast.
I mean, not on that. I was like,
It's okay.
I'm a kid.
I am old.
I was like, I'm a kid, and would he like to have a conversation with me or not? I was like, I was thinking that, like, I was just like, okay, let's go. And when you responded, I think you responded within a day at the night. Yeah, it was night day I was studying. when I saw your message, I was like, I just jumped out of my seat, like, okay, damn, thank God. And you were, when I had conversation with you, you were actually going to be my second guest, right? You told me that you were traveling, so I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I have to find some other guests. So I then had 3 other podcasts. I was like, damn, thanks for that, because you were the second person who accepted it, and that gave me a lot of confidence. I was like, you have to approach people. Yeah, see, and not everybody's gonna accept that. Like, your brain is gonna tell you every time, like, all these excuses, like, okay, maybe he will not have a conversation with me, he'll think that I'm a scammer. But if you don't approach, you have already lost. So just approach.
exactly. And here's the thing, right? When you start something, okay, if you fail, what is the worst thing? You're right where you started.
Yeah, with experience.
With some experience,
Yeah,
absolutely. But the
experience and
point is,
learning.
had I said no, all that did was you had to go and approach someone else,
Yeah,
right? I wasn't going to like come there and beat you and say, hey, why did you send me an email? So it is worth trying. Okay, putting the effort is up to you. The results are not in your hand. There are so many things that have to happen in the right way for results. Okay, there are thousands of things. I mean, you think about this. I'm going to go back to the heart attack thing. I started having that heart attack while I was driving from Washington D.C. to Virginia Beach. We lived in Virginia Beach at the time. It's a 4-hour drive. I didn't realize I was having a heart attack. I thought I was having heartburn, acid reflux. My heart was slowly failing through the drive overnight. Okay, next morning at 5:30, when I woke up, went downstairs, and that's when I felt like something was crushing my chest, and I went and woke my wife up. And by the time she came down, I was paralyzed. Okay, but the 4 nights prior to that, I was in a hotel in Washington, D.C. That heart attack could have happened at night at the hotel, and I wouldn't have been able to call anybody because literally in a matter of the next morning, Friday morning, in a matter of about 5 to 7 minutes, I went from being able to wake my wife up and say something is wrong with me to being completely paralyzed. Nothing would move. I was drooling. So, things happen in a certain order to make me survive, right? So, and same thing with work. Anything I do, you saw I have this YouTube channel, and all the and you have your podcast. Putting in the effort is in your hands. It's in my hands, putting the effort on my YouTube channel. The results are up to people. People may not like the content. They may like the content. They may not want to watch the content. They may not have time. I can spend time worrying about that. Or I could say, hey, what's in my hands is putting out the content, right? And that I will do. And that you're doing. Whether
yeah.
people watch it or not is not in my control. I cannot drag people and say, here, sit, watch.
Everybody goes through that phase. And I'm doing this. Yeah, I do think about that. But if people don't like this conversation, I'm like, who cares? If they don't want this, it's not in my hand, as you said. But the thing is, I'm learning, right?
Exactly.
I'm learning. I'm having a conversation with you. I'm learning with you. I'm getting to know you. I'm having a connection with you, right? So,
And you're having fun. You're
yeah, yeah. And if people watch it, sure, they will learn a lot. If they don't, then I'm learning a lot. Exact way the positive thing is happening for me, right? So it's just that. So yeah, see, right now people may not watch. Maybe after some years they'll come back to it and see, like, okay, this is guy big right now. I should watch his early days podcast. How was he? Like I do. I go and watch. You know Jordan Peterson?
I believe so. Yes, I
I
believe so.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I go back and watch his Howard lectures and all that. I was like, this is great. So that's what's gonna happen. The thing is, like you see, I watched some early documentaries of some business, and I really wish that Jeff Bezos had made some early documentaries of his Amazon's day. We could have learned a lot. The thing is that at that time he's creating the content, then nobody's going to watch it, right? Maybe 1 views or 2 views. But right now, everybody will go and watch that video. Like, how were the early days of that? This is the thing. See, that's a really great thing you say, right? Noki, you don't have control about what people are gonna watch, right? So
Right.
just put out the
And
great
you don't
content.
have to worry about it either. You don't see that
Yeah,
is what is out of your control. You don't need to waste even an ounce of energy worrying about it, right?
and I
If
guess
you love
social.
to create content, create it. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, go.
No, I'm just. That's all I wanted to say is, you love to create content, create it. Don't create content because you think people will watch it. That is
Yeah,
not going to be satisfactory for you,
yeah,
and people who are watching it will not be satisfied because they will feel like you're forcing something on them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
do what makes you happy, and if people watch, great. If they don't, oh well, great.
Even if there's one view, just imagine another person listening to a thing. So I think social media has really believed us that ki, 10 people watching or 10 people liking your reel or video is very less. Imagine 10 people standing in front of you and appreciating for your video. Right?
So
That's
I'll,
great.
I'll tell you something. My father, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us. So, but he told me, he said he considered a person's life success if there was one who genuinely, other than his family, right, who genuinely shed a tear when he passed away, meaning he had created an impact in one person's life. He says that is success.
Yeah.
You don't
That's,
have to
yeah.
impact thousands of people, right? All you need is to impact one person. Yes, the internet is, social media is basically, it's like, oh, you got to get, 1 million likes, you got to go viral. Well, when I was growing up, if somebody said you had to go viral, I was like, oh, I don't want to get sick.
Yeah. If you see back then, I guess in your days, if some famous speaker is going to be there, I think maximum 50 to 100 people, 50 to
Exactly.
100 seats were there, right? Imagine 50 and 100 views right now. People were thinking, oh no, he's a failed YouTuber. People don't like his content. Imagine 100 people sitting in front of you and you're telling them. It's a big thing.
No,
So yeah,
it absolutely is. And when I talk about the one person, you've seen some of my anecdotes, right? One of the anecdotes, I'm not sure if I put it out there or not yet, but after a severe storm, there was a guy running up and down the beach, and he was picking up little starfish. They had been beached on the sand, and he was throwing them in the water, right? And there were hundreds of starfish that got washed onto the sand, and he was throwing them. And some other people came by and saw him and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm trying to save the starfish's life." And he says, "But there's thousands of them, right? You're not going to make a difference. There are thousands of them." He says, "Yeah, but for this one, I
I
did."
can. Yeah, yeah. This reminds me that just before a podcast, before a podcast, I received a message from somebody. The podcast which I uploaded yesterday, I shared it with her. Right? It was about love and marriage.
Yeah, I actually started watching it. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, that lady was very intellectual. I learned a lot. I received a message and it was like, thanks for this, making this. I watched and I was going through something and I he was like, I can't put into words, but this saved me and my relationship. And
Exactly.
I can't describe the feeling which I was feeling at that time. I was like, it's enough for me. I'm like, I don't care if I go viral or not, I become famous or not, but I just saved his relationship, right? I saved him. That's the thing. That's
We, we,
exactly
we
what.
put we put too much emphasis on fame
Yeah,
and not enough emphasis on impact.
yeah,
Okay, seriously, not
yeah.
not
Like,
enough emphasis on impact. There was a time, and there will be a time because everything in the world goes in cycles, right? Being famous is not as important as making an impact. And you may
yeah,
make an impact in a small community. You may make an impact worldwide, right? I mean, you think about Mother Teresa, right? There are people outside of India who do not know who she is. But for thousands of people, she made an impact locally there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I really don't believe in fame, because you may see very stupid people having a lots of followers and not creating impact in people's life. If you see, I should not say go for this harsh, but there are very cringe content creators out there. People love to watch them. The kids, they're not learning anything from them, right? I'm not criticizing it. I'm like, you can watch whatever you want for the entertainment, but that's the thing. He has fame, but the impact is very less. Or even no, like you're not learning anything. Though I don't think there is a great impact. That's the thing. And this thing, I'm going to be remembering it forever. This pushes you a lot, motivates you a lot to just do the work you're doing. Like, yeah, imagine meeting this guy in person, and he's telling you like that. It will be a different feeling that time too, and then we'll be like, hell yeah, let's go, let's create more content, help people out. That's the thing. And I'm sure people are gonna learn a lot from you.
Yeah, just do the things you love to do. And I've always, in fact, when we had this conversation, you had said, "Hey, do you want questions in advance?" And I'm like, "No, because the answers are not going to change, right? The answers
Yeah.
come from here. I don't have to script the answers.
I still have questions, but I'm not
Well,
asking this
go ahead and
because
ask them.
no, it's been answered through this conversation. I'm enjoying the conversation more. Like, it's randomly, the conversation is going great.
It's just a conversation. You don't have to have everything in life scripted. Most of
Yeah.
life is not scripted. Most of life is not scripted.
I tried to create some questions which I thought it's gonna be valuable for the
Well, if you
viewers.
missed anything, please look at your notes
It's
and
great.
please ask.
I would ask, what about fear? Like, fear is a powerful barrier, right? How do you personally handle fear?
Well, people give fear a uh, bad rap, a bad. Find me the words. It has a bad. I mean, the American word is a bad rap. Okay, people think fear is bad. Fear is not bad. Okay, being courageous is not the absence of fear. Absence of if you don't have any fear, that's not courageous. That's stupidity.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, I fear fire. All right, that's not bad. Okay, because I know, at one point in my life, I stuck my hand in fire and I got burned. So that fear taught me a lesson. Now the fear is, hey, don't stick your hand in fire, you'll get burned. Right? Courage is doing the right thing even when you're afraid, even in the face of fear. Doing the right thing, that is courageous. Right?
Yeah.
Not the absence of fear, but doing the right thing. So fear is actually the reason why we have fear. Okay, it is a genetic thing, a survival thing. Right? If you look at the human brain, we have the ego, id, superego, but in the base of our brain, there's this thing called the limbic brain. Right?
Yeah.
That brain only sees few things: fight or flight. I.e., in this situation, should I stand and fight or should I run? Right? Is this something I can eat? Is this something I can mate with? Like it has like 3 or 4 basic functions, but it teaches us, to respect that fear. I mean, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm not afraid," okay, you're not. No, I'm not afraid. I'm going to go stand in front of a charging train or a charging bull. Well, that's not a lack of fear. That's stupidity.
Stupidity.
Okay, you know, you got to live life, by taking risks as carefully as possible. I know it sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds like a contradiction in terms. How
Yeah.
do you take risks and live life carefully? Well, control the things you can control, right? If you know there's a cliff, don't go drive off that cliff because there's only one result there. Gravity
Yeah.
is okay. But if you don't know there's a cliff, proceed with caution until you know what's there. Because if you say there might be a cliff, I'm never going to go there, you might miss out on something, right? So don't let fear paralyze you. Let fear make you make informed decisions.
Yeah. Thing is, according to my personal life, or most of the youth in India or anywhere, right? We take decisions according to not just because of our outcome. We also think about the family, right? like, uh, yeah, you took risk, and you had a family. You have to watch their back, right? And we think about, if you make this move, this is not just gonna affect me. It's gonna affect a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And that fear is it's hard to be courageous at that
No,
time,
that's
right?
not fear, right? Think for it this way, okay? I had spent a certain number of years in the corporate world, right? Yes, I was starting my own business, okay? Maybe I'd have done it for 2 years and failed. What would I have done? I would have gone and found another job, right? And that's that belief, right? Saying, hey, whatever skills I have the ability to find a job, right? I mean, you can stick with the same job and suddenly the company goes bankrupt, right? People think, oh, I have a job, I'm safe. Well, it's not safe from the company going bankrupt. How many companies went bankrupt during the pandemic? I mean, these are the unplanned things, right? I mean, in January of, what was it, 2019, who would have thought that in 3 months the entire world is going to shut down for a period of a year or so, right? Nobody. But you had to adapt, okay? And you cannot fear, because when things happen, right? Yes, we all have responsibilities, okay? The thing is that you can survive. The human spirit is very, very, very strong. I'm sure your Navy SEAL friend said the same thing. The
Yeah.
human spirit is strong, but the biggest thing that will sap away your strength is when you give in to that fear. The moment you say, I can't, guess what? You've written your history. You can't. You cannot. If you say, guess what? I'm going to do it. You may succeed, you may fail, but you have a better chance of succeeding, because now at least you're progressing, and you may not reach there. You may reach somewhere else in a completely different direction that you were not thinking. Okay. One of my videos, I say always shoot for the sun. Okay, because if you miss, you might land on the moon or on the star,
Yeah.
right? But if you say, I'm not going to shoot for the sun, it's too far away, guess what? You're right here on Earth, right? So always try. You don't know. We don't know what is written for us in our life. But when you try, you're going to end up somewhere. You'll become rich, may not be financially, but with experience. And that experience might help you somewhere else in life.
In other words, we can think that if you're fearing for starting something, think about what worse could have happened. Just like me, when I was thinking about starting a podcast, I thought, what worse could have happened? Gained experience, gained knowledge, and making connections. This is the worst thing that can happen, right?
Exactly.
So
What is the
whether or
worst
not,
thing? You put out videos, nobody watched them. So what?
yeah, I learned. I made a connection. Imagine if sometime I'm in America where I meet you. So this is
No,
the things I know.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I know someone in America, right? I made this connection with this. I'm sitting in India right now, and I'm having a friend in America. So that's the thing. So that's what I thought. What worse could have happened? So that's what you have to think. If you want to start something, think about what worse could happen, and just react to it. As you said that may you would not reach the destination you think you can, but you would reach somewhere. And even if you don't get the things you want, but you would get experiences. You will get rich in experiences, not in money but in experiences, and you can use that experience at some other work, and that's going to help you. So you build a leverage, right?
You see, once you start walking, right, you're going to
Yeah.
get somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't walk, you're going to be right where you are, and the world's going to keep passing you by. You start walking, you may not end up where you want to be, but you'll end up somewhere.
It is the same thing that if you change even direction. If you change, suppose you're walking, you change a little bit of direction, right? Even 1 meter. And if you keep walking, you will just reach so far from the point you think you were going. That's the thing. It's great.
And results are never instantaneous. Okay, everybody expects instantaneous results,
Yeah.
right? You know, anything that is worthwhile in life, right? I mean, you think about it. If a farmer said, "Okay, I'm putting the seed in the ground right now, and in 2 hours I'm going to come and harvest the crop," it doesn't work that way. You know,
Yeah.
it takes time. I don't know if you're into sailing and shipping. So when my wife traveled, we do a lot of cruises and we travel places. Those big ships, right? They will start doing things to turn it here. And for a mile, you will see nothing. And then suddenly the nose of the ship will start to shift. Okay. But it's not because of how large it is and how large our life is, how, you know, little things that you do, like I said, a little direction, the further you go, you know, you make a 1 degree change here, you know, you go further. Guess what? It's only an inch here, but now same thing. Now here it's a foot, and you keep going, it's going to be a mile.
Yeah. That's a beauty, I think. And it's a wonderful experience for anybody who chooses to do that, is gonna be reach very far ahead in life. Right.
Absolutely. And for people like you, youngsters like you, I say, try it. Okay.
Yeah.
Try to do something. Don't let fear of failure stop you. Okay. Do it. If you fail, do something else. But if you have that feeling that you got to do something, go do it. Don't worry about the results. The results are not, I've said this before, I'm repeating myself, the results are not in your hands. Putting the effort is in your hands.
In the last podcast, I learned one thing, that do the thing, because that what if will kill you. Failure, you can overcome failure, but you can't overcome that thought of what if I did. Exactly. So tell me this, who were the mentors or influences in your life that shaped your mindset, and what valuable lesson did you learn from them?
Well, my parents were a very big influence. They let me be who I wanted to be, right? And then along the way, I've met many friends who became mentors, several. So there was no one big influence. There were various people. There was one person who taught me things about business. There was one person the one person who changed my life or sent me in a different direction. So I started life as an engineer.
Right.
I got a bachelor's and master's in engineering. I worked as an engineer for 28 days, literally 28 days. And there was a lady,
Not
Judy Sullivan.
surprising.
Yeah, 28 days. There was a lady, Judy Sullivan. She was the CEO of a company called MCC. She's no longer, I was in my 20s, and she was at that time in her, I think, late 50s, just like we are now. And she told me, she said, "You're not an engineer. You're in the wrong field. You need to retrain yourself to be something else." Right? And she said,
See,
"You."
every engineer is something else. In India, we
Yeah,
produce so many engineers,
but
but
you see what I'm saying? She
yeah.
saw in me. She was like, "This is not going to. Yes, you'll make money doing this, but this is not going to make you happy."
Hmm.
Right? And she persuaded me to pursue something else. So I started studying. So while I was working, I went for my MBA. And that is the hardest thing to do, trust me, while raising a family, trying to do your MBA and PhD at night. Okay. I started studying for my MBA, but I started studying decision theory. And decision theory led me to my PhD. And decision theory turned out to be strategic decision making, which is what I built my career on, is strategic decision making. But she was the one person that looked at me and said, "No, you got to do something else." It was hard for me to accept, but I respected her for many reasons, and yeah, sad day for me was when she passed on. So
You always need that one person in your life who's gonna tell you that you're built for something else. Yeah, she helped you and to find your niche
And
that was yeah into
and
something
and then
else.
the other big influence in my life is my wife. Okay,
Yeah,
because I from her, I will get the no bullshit answer. I hope I can say bullshit on a podcast, but it, here's the thing: she will look at something I'm doing and say, that looks horrible. Okay, she will say that to my face.
yeah.
But the point is, I may not like it at that time, but 90% of more than 90% of the time, she is correct. And I've learned to, and the thing is, she's an artist. Okay, she has painted the covers to all my books. Uh, she's a very accomplished artist in her own right. She has her own channel. She actually sells her art to her artisan galleries, and she will ask me for my opinion about her art as well. But when I show her things, right? She Any book, anything, any article before I publish it, I have her read it, and if she looks at it and says, "I'm going to revise it," okay.
Yeah.
So for the last several decades, my wife has been a very big influence in my life. Behind every successful man, there's a woman telling him he's wrong.
That is true. Yeah, yeah. One thing that I have learned doing this podcasting is that yeah, trust your partner. you know, yeah, the people telling me that yeah, trust your partner. I see my sister and brother-in-law relationship. I see that yeah, trust your partner because uh, whatever do they give the genuine and required opinion, right?
Well, that is
Because
the one person that can tell you,
yeah,
without fear, hey, because there's no agenda, they can tell you, you know
yeah,
what, this is crap. Do something.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when I started my business, she was like, go for it. There was not one instance, 1 second where my wife said or put any doubt in me. When I told her, hey, I'm going to quit this cushy job that's paying us a lot of money and go start my own company, and she said, okay, we'll make it work, right? So without that, okay, half the things I've done, you cannot do that if you don't have your spouse's support,
yeah. That's a
right?
thing. That's a thing. You were like, yeah, in that matter, you got a wife who was very supportive for you.
Yeah, extremely,
See, many
extremely.
people don't get that, like you, right? It's great. So tell me something. What should someone look for in a mentor?
In
What should someone look for in a mentor, and how can they leverage that relationship for growth?
So first thing, in any mentor, okay, you want to look for somebody you can learn from, okay, and they don't have to be that far ahead of you, right? Your mentor can be 1 year ahead of you. Secondly, they should have the same value system as you have.
Uh,
I'm not saying good or bad, same value system.
Value system, like what can you elaborate more on that?
Same moral compass.
Okay.
Okay,
Moral compass.
everybody's moral compass is different, right?
Hmm,
And I'm not judging. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Like I
hmm,
said, there's
hmm.
nothing that is perfect. There's nobody that is perfect. But in a mentor, in a partner, your moral compass has to align. Okay, if you're somebody who says, "Hey, I won't even pick a penny off the ground," right? Your mentor should be somebody who's like that. If you're somebody who says, well, a penny is just a penny, I'll pick a penny off the ground, I won't pick a dollar because now I'm taking somebody's dollar, right? Or in Indian currencies, I'll pick a paisa off the ground, but I will not pick a rupee, right? Your mentor, your partner, whoever, they should have that same moral compass. And I'm not judging whether it's right or wrong, right? What I'm saying is your moral compass should be aligned. So you should have that same radar. Otherwise, you're going to clash. You're not going to learn because either if their moral compass is misaligned, they're going to give you an advice on something, and your first instinct going to be, that doesn't fit within my moral code. Or you're going to say something that doesn't fit within their moral code, right? So that is important. Okay. And, one thing you said that I kind of disagree with, and I'm never ashamed to disagree with
Yeah,
somebody.
it's good. I love people who do that. I love people who do that.
You do not leverage your mentor. Okay.
I was talking about leveraging that relationship.
I know you don't leverage the relationship, right? The moment you talk about leveraging something, you're already putting an expectation on that relationship, right? How can I get my mentor to get me something better, right? You see what I'm saying? You don't leverage. What you think about is not how I leverage my mentor to get some to the next level. You think about how I can learn from my mentor, wherever that takes you. Doesn't matter, right? And that's my belief. And different people will say different things. But any relationship that I have had, whether it be business, personal, I don't look at, hey, how can I leverage this person to do something else?
Hmm.
I look at it as, what can I benefit mutually? Okay. You think of it this way. What is the most important thing in life? I'm asking you.
Uh, I would say there are a lot of answers, but I would say relationships. I would say that.
It's life itself. Okay. It's life
Like
itself.
if you're looking for a
And
philosophical answer, then yeah, a
now,
relationship.
how do you measure life? Okay. You measure life in time, right? We don't know how much time we have, but it is time, right? So you and I have been talking for an hour, right?
Yeah,
So I have given up
yeah.
60 minutes of my life,
Hmm.
right? Which is not going to come back. You have given up 60 minutes of your life, which is not going to come back, right? Okay. You see what I'm saying, right? That 60 minutes, it's gone,
Yeah.
right? The thing is, if I'm worrying about, hey, how can I leverage Vaibhav to get something else? I'm wasting
Yeah.
my life and your life. And life
Yeah.
is precious. We only have, it doesn't matter if you have 50 years, 80 years, 90 years, it's still finite. And when that
Yeah.
moment, that time is gone, it's gone. So what you try to do with every interaction, whether that be with this kind of interaction, whether that be with the grocery store clerk, whether that be with the guy who comes to cut your lawn, the interaction should be enriching to both of you,
Yeah.
mutually enriching. And the same thing applies to your mentor, right? The interaction should be enriching, not leveraging, right? It's like, because here's the thing. If you spend 5 minutes with your mentor, you gave up 5 minutes of your lifetime, and so did they. So think about enriching any interaction. This, from the smallest 2-minute interaction to people that you ask me, why do I smile and why am I positive? Because every time I meet somebody, I look upon how can I enrich their day, and that could be just by smiling at them and saying hello.
Yeah.
And how can they enrich my day?
By replying back. So, thing is, you make relationship and you just don't see the personal interest, right? You make relationship with a mentor. You see how this relationship is going to benefit both of us. You are looking for the mutual interest, right?
I'm looking for mutual enrichment,
Yeah.
not even interest, right?
Hmm.
Mutual enrichment. You think about, if when you and I had talked, right? The
Hmm.
first conversation we had, if I started off with, "Oh man, you're 20 years old," I'm going to look down on you like this. Okay? Yeah, I showed my. Hey, I still have enough hair left in my head. I can go.
It's
But
great.
the thing is, everybody is your equal, and I say this to people. When I meet a new person, I'm like, if I get cut and bleed red, and you get cut and bleed red, we are the same. Okay, if you get cut and bleed blue, I might start thinking funny about you. But until then, we are all the same, right? So everybody, treat everybody. I mean, what was the first thing I told you? I said, call me Atul. Call me by my name. You
Yeah.
don't need to do sir. Why? We are equal. We all bleed red. So whether you meet a person on the street, okay, whether you meet a person in the office, right? And we were talking about, I'm digressing a little bit, but you're talking about influences. My dad told me, he says, you do not have good manners or bad manners. You just have the same manners for everybody. Okay, you treat everybody the exact same way, whether they are somebody who's picking up your garbage or somebody who's your boss. You treat them the exact same way. And that's where, this mutual enrichment comes in. Just by doing that, you could make somebody's day. You could impact somebody's day so much.
Yeah. This is a very great thing that I've heard in a while, and I can't stop smiling.
Say again? No, you shouldn't stop smiling.
No, I'm saying this is one of the best things that I've heard in a while, and it's great that I can't stop smiling. Think about it.
It is. We are all the same.
Yeah,
Okay,
like if
you
it's
take away, somebody might have more money than you. Somebody might have
yeah,
less money than you.
yeah,
Somebody might have a different set of clothing than you. But
yeah,
guess what? We all came into this world naked and crying. We're all going to
yeah,
go
yeah.
out
The
of this
same way.
world one way. Even if you take that money with you, it's going to get burned up, okay? Or going to get buried, right?
Yes,
The point is, as long as you remember that we are all the same, there is no up or down, or what, life throws different things at different people. Somebody who is up today might be down tomorrow. There's an old saying from, I spent many years in Washington D.C. So there's a saying in Washington D.C. and it's going to translate kind of funny, but I'm going to say it. Okay, that saying goes, it says, be careful about whose toes you step on today, because those toes might be connected to the leg that is connected to the ass that you got to kiss tomorrow. Because here's the thing, people go up and down in power, right? People go up and down in position.
yeah,
As long as you're treating everybody the same,
yeah,
you don't have to worry about, hey, did I treat that person badly?
yeah.
Now that they got promoted, what
Mhm.
they're going to do to me,
Mhm.
right? But if you're treating them the same, whether they are, a junior person or a senior person, well, that junior person someday is going to become a senior person. You don't have to worry because you
Yeah,
treat them the same.
that's the same thing. Like, do not underestimate anyone, because you might not know what he's gonna do. Right? What might he
Absolutely.
become?
Absolutely.
See, that's the thing. We are living in such a world where starters, money, fame plays a huge role in, and this, especially the starters game, like, oh, I'm rich, you're this. So there's a difference, right? In India, I should not go on this way, but in the religion sense, there's a caste system in every religion. I feel there is something like this. We So there is not a unity between people, right? As you said that we all bleed red, but still people say, he is different, he is different. We label people in the term of rich, fame, or religion. Yeah, he's a Christian, Muslim, or he's a whatever, like Hindu. So we do that. So if a child is born, he doesn't know that, but the world is teaching this, right? We are
Yeah, but
teaching
it's
them
up to
the
each individual, right, to make that
yeah.
decision, make that choice. Yes, the world teaches you something, but at some point in time, when you become an adult, when you're over 18, you can use your brain and think.
And that's a challenging thing, because you're going to question beliefs of many people, and you're going to get attacked,
No,
right? Like,
here's the thing: you don't have to question anybody else's beliefs. See, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can choose how. Here's the thing:
for yourself, what do you
for
believe for
yourself,
yourself?
for
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Hmm.
You can choose to be kind to everybody,
Yeah.
right? That's your choice. Okay, you don't have to tell someone else, hey, you need to be kind to that person. That's their business, right?
Yeah.
What is in your control is, remember, we cannot control what happens. We can control how we react to it. You cannot control how somebody else does something, but you can control how you choose to treat that person.
Yeah, it's
hard,
yeah,
and you just
it's
said
hard.
the
Yeah,
popular way is not always the right way.
yeah. Anybody preaching that, I think you were preaching this your whole life. As yeah, he has nothing to worry about. Like, we do fight with people. We treat someone good, we treat someone bad. I have done that in the past. I'm guilty of it, and I do regret it. So if I hadn't done that, then there would be have wouldn't be have no regrets, right? This is the thing. Yeah,
We all do things, okay?
yeah,
Every one of us does things. Question is not what we did, it's what we're going to do.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Maybe you would have hurt some people in the past, but you could learn from that, and you could not hurt other people in the future, right? You could
Absolutely,
learn from, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, and when you get in the corporate world, like I said, when I was in the corporate world, I was ruthless. Okay, for me, that when I was, because that's how you got your bonuses. When you're in a corporation, they
Mhm.
set the rules to make, hey, you have to do this, this, and this, maintain this profitability to be and make a bonus.
Mhm.
And guess what? I was going to make that bonus, so I would do whatever it took, right? And as life moved on, I realized, hey, maybe this is not the way. But it's very easy to get sucked up in that. So do I regret that? No, that was a different phase of my life, right? Do I like where I'm at now? Yeah, I'm happy.
Everything in the world is like that only. Like in school, you have to come first. In corporate world, as you said, you have to take that bonus. You have to be ruthless. So in the process of that, we do treat some people
Well,
bad.
we
Like, you
do,
have to.
but you have a choice, right? So I did a live stream. I forget when. It's on my YouTube channel, and I
Mhm.
talk about the definition of success, right?
Yeah, what's the definition of success according to you?
Okay, so the definition of success, according to me, is it depends on what you decide. Society doesn't decide what success is. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say there is, Joe and Jane, two people. They get married.
Yeah.
Their goal in life, right, is to make sure that their children
Mhm.
start life one step above where they were at that age. Okay, so Joe and Jane go to work every day for 30 years. They work the same job, they do the same thing. They send their children off to school. They get them that one step ahead. Are they successful? Society will say no.
Hmm.
But according to Joe and Jane, right?
Yeah.
They that was their goal. You're successful when you achieve your goal. We were talking about these videos, right? What is my goal when I'm putting out a video? What is your goal when you're putting out your podcast? My goal is to put out the best quality video that I can do with my abilities. I don't set my goal as how many people will watch it, right? So as soon as that video goes out and I look at it and say, I'm happy with that, that was a success.
Yeah.
Because society will always put a definition of success that very few people can meet. You have to decide your own success. So for me, success is whatever you decide, achieving whatever you decide you want to achieve. Think about that.
See, that's why I love talking to people with experience. Anybody I ask, what's a meaning or definition? What's the definition of success according to you? Every time I get a different answer. And this answer is like the answer you give. Society doesn't decide what's a success for you. You decide what's a success for you.
Exactly.
It just changes the whole game,
No, because
to
we
be
all
honest.
don't want the same thing, right?
Right? Yeah.
Not everybody wants to be rich and famous. Not everybody wants to be a Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or, yeah, not everybody wants to do that, right? Some people are happy doing somebody is happy. I mean, Mother Teresa, right? Was she a success? Or Gandhi? Was he a success? How much money did he have? How many corporations did he run? How many Mercedes was he driving? Last I remember, he was walking around barefoot around the country, but he gave freedom to a nation, right?
Yeah.
He created a nation. Okay. No, that is success, a different kind of success, not money related, not fortune related, right? Mother Teresa, she spent her entire life helping other people. She didn't, she didn't have money. She didn't, paint great paintings, or she just spent her life in service. Was she successful? Yes. If that's what her goal was in life,
Then she was
was to help
successful. Yeah.
people, she was successful. So everyone, our individual success is defined by what we want to achieve and achieving that.
Society has set standards for like success. Like, you should have this at the age of this, you should have this at the age of this. So if anybody is not able to achieve that expectation according to the society, then they label him as a failure, right? But the thing you say right now, that changes the game for that individual, right? For
It
him, for
absolutely
his.
does. I mean, you think about Albert Einstein, right? I mean, he didn't start working on his theories of relativity and stuff until he was in his late 50s.
No.
So that means, he was a failure because by the age of 25, he was not running a company.
See that? Yeah. See, I'm guilty of it. I'm 20 right now, but sometimes I do have stress, like, people are there, and I should have been there at this age, and sometimes I think, you're just 20, you have a lot of time to do that. Sometimes I think, you are 20 and you have nothing done right now. So these opinions just come to your mind, right?
Well, and that's where, I talk about, you need to let go of society's expectations for you, right? You have to learn to live with believe in what you want to do. I mean, you talked about, people. We talked about Edison, Musk, right? If they had said, hey, the world is saying I cannot create a light bulb, the world is saying I cannot land a rocket, and okay, that means I cannot, right? They would have stopped.
Mm.
So that's where you have to be that type of a person saying, hey, this is what my success is. Right? Not everybody's a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. I mean, think about it this way: there are people who are actors. There are people who are musicians, right? They play great music. And some of the greatest, Leonardo da Vinci, some of the greatest, Bernini, right? During their lifetime, a lot of them were living in poverty. Okay.
Yeah.
They were basically, borrowing
Mm.
money so they could buy paint, so they could paint these things that today we look at and say, oh my God, it's the greatest, picture painting on earth, or it's the greatest sculpture, uh, you know. Uh, so they did, right? They didn't come from, I'm sure during that time also society had a definition of success for them. They didn't care. What they cared about is, I like my art, I like to paint, or I like to sculpt. I'm going to create a sculpture. I'm going to create a painting. I don't care if anybody buys it or not. And now, a couple of hundred years after they're gone, people are paying hundreds of millions of dollars for their paintings.
Yeah, people are getting crazy over it. Yeah. That's thing. They did what make them happy, right?
And that is
And
success. If you do set out to do something that makes you internally strive towards, and you do that, you're successful. Doesn't matter what society says. You're successful.
it's hard. Many people struggle their whole life, to find what actually makes them happy, right? It's and the people who find them are very lucky. Who
Well,
find.
ask yourself. Finding what makes you happy is very easy, right? It's very easy. Ask yourself, what is that one or two things that you would do, even if nobody paid you to do it?
Yeah. Thing
Okay.
is that, I get that, but thing is, uh, we listen. I have this quote, right? That impatient with the work, but the patient with the result. Yeah, right. So the quote is, impatient with the work and patient with the results. So as you said, what are the things that you would do when nobody is paying you for it and you would be happy doing it? But there are certain results that you expect that at least you do this. If you're doing, like, if you're doing a podcast, at least 10 people watch that. If they're not watching it, at least 10 people are not watching it, then you do self-doubt for some moment, right? uh,
Absolutely. But here's the thing. If your goal is to create a good podcast, right? And you honestly think, hey, I created a good podcast, that in itself is success. Whether people are watching it or not, that is secondary, right? Because you cannot control whether people are watching it or not. That is completely out of your hands, right? You can control whether you put out a quality podcast, just like I can control whether I put out a good video. Okay. That's it. That's it. And then beyond that, it's up to the universe. Whatever happens is going to happen. Okay. You think about the people who you talk about the Musk landing a rocket. You really think he set out saying, well, if I don't land this rocket, the universe is going to stop? No, he was like, I'll try it again
yeah.
and again until I succeed. I wonder how many times his rockets blew up before they succeeded. Right? I wonder
And
how many times Jobs wrote his whole Apple code and stuff before it worked.
it's also like you could fail a lot of times, but you just need that one win, and then every game changes, right? So you can fail 100 times, but it's just that the one time you have to win, and then
And here's the thing: putting in the effort. You said about patience with the results and impatience with your work. Putting in the effort is in your hands, and you will always have the naysayers in society. Okay, people who will say no. When you start doing the work, I guarantee you that 100 people are going to say, why are you wasting your time doing that? You're working too hard. Let's go out and do this. Let's go out and do that. And then one day when you succeed, right, those very same people, they're going to tell you, oh my God, you're so lucky you succeeded. They don't see the 100,000 hours of work you put in behind the scenes, right? At the time when they were telling you, oh, you're working too hard. So that's the thing. You cannot go by what society says. You look within yourself for what you want to do. How do you feel about what you do? Does it make you feel good? Are you within your moral compass? Okay, your moral compass. I'm not talking about anyone else's, not society's, not, your personal moral compass. Are you within that? Do you feel good at night? When you sleep in bed, do you think, oh, I did wrong to that person, or I did wrong? Or do you go to bed and say, you know what? I didn't do anything that I'm ashamed of today. So I'm going to sleep well. And then success, that's in someone else's hands. You cannot force people to watch your stuff. I cannot force people to watch my stuff.
yeah. You said if you go to bed and you feel like, okay, haven't done anything wrong, right? But I have met some evil people in my life who do wrong with the other people, but they are still good, or at least they are pretending to be.
Well, you don't know what's going on within them. But then again, remember, I said different people have different moral compasses, right?
Yeah.
And as long as what you're doing fits within your moral compass, you're going to feel good about it. Now, somebody might have a different moral compass than you do. And don't worry about how they sleep at night. Right? They may be sleeping really well, they may not. I talked about it. Do you pick up a penny off the ground, or do you pick up a dollar off the ground? Where do you draw that line? Or do you pick nothing else up? And I mean, in the US, a penny is considered lucky. If you find a penny, they say you'll have good luck. So everybody picks up pennies, right? Well, you see what I'm saying, right? So, but regardless of whether you're picking up a penny or your dollar, you're still picking up currency that somebody lost, somebody dropped, right?
Yeah.
So where is that moral compass between right and wrong? Is it okay to pick up one penny but not a dollar, or is it okay to pick up a dollar but not $100?
The same things like when you kill a cockroach, society praises you, but if you kill a butterfly, then they are gonna.
Exactly. You know, and that's the thing. You can't worry about what society says. You have to worry about your moral compass. You know,
It's easy to say that. We might would agree on that, right? But if you live through the moment where society is hating on you, you would have self-doubt on yourself. You would think that I am doing something wrong, I should change that. Like many people think, like if I want to take this action, they are thinking the different outcomes, like what if society reacts to this stuff like this, like I have to live in the same society, I have to have the respect. And that thing does actually stop them, right?
not if they truly believe. You know, who was it? Copernicus, who decided the Earth was round and not flat, and they burned him alive, right? The church, I think it was Cooper, whoever it was, who said, "Hey, the Earth is round." You know, they burned him alive, and he went and got burned for his belief, right? But he never left that belief. And had he not left that belief, right? Had he given up and said, "Okay, I agree with everybody, the Earth is flat," we wouldn't have known that right now, right? Just because he got burned at the stake, you know, he got punished for his so-called heresy of claiming that, you know, the Earth is not the center of the universe, the sun is, and the Earth is round and not flat, right? We have those theories today. And so that goes back to your fundamental belief. Do you honestly believe in what you're doing? Then you should be willing to take whatever society dishes out to you for those beliefs. If you
So
honestly believe, right? I mean, you think about the ridicule, okay, that I got from people who, you know, people look, my colleagues, friends, they're like, "You're insane. You're leaving a well-paying job to go start a business that may or may not work."
but you had that belief that
And I had some colleagues that refused to speak to me because they felt I betrayed the company. Still don't speak to me, you know. But it's gone. That's water under the bridge. It's gone. But they cut off contact because they're
holding
like,
that
"Oh,
that holding that much grudge.
well." I mean, they felt betrayed, right? Because they're like, "Hey, you left the corporation that made you," you know. Whereas I was drawn towards something else. Okay, you have to have that belief.
If you believe that you could do it, you wouldn't think about anything else. You wouldn't think about what society is going to say for you. You're not thinking about what other people are going to say to you. You are still going to do the thing, and you will still do it because you believe in them.
Absolutely. So I'll give you this example, right? When I wrote that book, Remember Thou Art Mortal. Okay. One of the critics, I'm not going to name it, you know, one of the critics wrote this scathing review, 2 pages long, about how horrible that book was and how, you know, it didn't convey blah blah blah. Instinctively, the first moment I saw that review, I was like, I'm going to write a response. I waited for a second. I'm like, you know what? That's his opinion.
Oh,
Okay. 6 months later, right, I got a call from that same place where that reviewer worked saying, "Hey, we've selected your book as one of the finalists for these awards." And suddenly that review was gone. It was replaced by another review written by someone else within that same organization saying, "Oh my God, this book is so good." Okay. The thing is, you know, everybody is going to have an opinion.
yeah.
You cannot let that influence what you do. I believe what I've written was good stuff. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy, right?
Yeah, on the thing critic. Yeah, the name I told you before, the David Goggins. He used to receive so many hate comments on his video. What he did, he took the snapshot of every comment. He made a voice recording, reading those comments, and when he used to run, he used to hear that comment, hear that audio he made. For the first time I read that, I thought how sick he is. He said, and one of the best thing he said, that you would never meet a hater in your life doing better than you. And it's like, yeah, like people do criticize me. I'm not that big, but still I have people who criticize me for this, that I'm like, it's great. Like you said, every people have different opinion, and I think that's the beauty of the consciousness too, right? That people have different opinion about everything.
Not everybody likes the same thing.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, hey, whatever this is, I don't like it. Well, think of it this way. They actually looked at it and they spent time writing a comment. So they interacted with your content. Whether they liked it or not doesn't matter, right? They interacted with your content. So I generally don't worry about what society thinks. And I have always, and that's what I talk about my parents, is they let me be who I wanted to be, and my wife is very supportive, letting me be who I want to be, because it's like, hey, this is what I believe in. People don't have to like what I believe in, but I'm not going to change because somebody doesn't like what I believe
in. Yeah, we can deal with the societal pressure, like thinking, okay, I know, I believe in this work, but what if the same critic are our own people, the people who are close to you? How you deal with that?
So when you get criticism from somebody close to you, okay, it is usually not tearing down. There are two types of criticism. There's criticism that just tears you down, okay, and then there's criticism that is constructive.
Yeah,
Right.
the constructive. Yeah, I
So
have talked about
when
it.
my wife looks at something and says, "Hey, that's not up to par," she doesn't just say, "Ah, that's not up to par." She tells me, when she look at that, you made that face when you were speaking. That's not. Or she said, I have a tendency, and it's been, got decades in the making. I am a public speaker. And a lot of times when I get excited about a topic, my volume starts going up. and my wife, in fact, today before the podcast, she's like, Atul, remember, okay, that person is not deaf. They can hear you. You know what? That's okay, because, she's giving me constructive criticism, right?
Yeah.
Or when I told you about this, when I went to my son, when I started creating these videos, I went to my son. I'm like, hey, son, look at these things, because he's 32 years old. He's in that generation. Tell me what you think. And he looked at it, and then he called me back. He says, hey, Pops, this is good, but I don't like what you did there. You might want to change the way you say things. You might want to put more emphasis on words. I made those changes. So when you get criticism from somebody close to you, it's usually constructive criticism, and it is criticism without an agenda. Because you have to believe that those that are close to you, whether they be family, friends, mentors, they have your best interests at hand. So when they're saying something, they're saying with your best interests. So you better take a good look at it, and you may or may not choose to change, but you better take a very good look at it. Somebody from the outside says something, yeah, look at it, but you don't need to give it the same level of thought as you would from somebody that is close to you.
But
They still have validity, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But the one thing that you have to remember is that you may think that people is a person who think is you close, it comes in your close circle. Like, it's like you think that people is a family. You think that he is the person who I think thinks best of me, but you could be wrong, right?
Absolutely. Well, in that case, you got a different situation to worry about. Is my wife and I, both of us, right? We try to keep negative people away from our lives. Okay. We are friendly with everybody. We are friends with very few people. And there's a big difference.
Yeah,
We're
very
polite,
big.
courteous, and friendly with everybody, but we're friends with very few people. So if you have a person in your life, whether that be a family member or a friend or something, who does not have your best interests at heart, then you got to decide how many barriers you're going to put up between you and them, and how much weight are you going to give to what they say. Okay. When my wife says something, I immediately, my ears perk up and I listen and I give it a lot of thought. I may not react immediately, but it runs in my head. Hey, she said this. There has to be a reason. Okay. When my son says something, even though he's younger, yeah, we at this age, actually not this age, for the last probably 8-10 years, my son and I, we talk more like friends, because he's now an adult. He has his own life, right? So we exchange ideas, and he will say some things to me, and I will listen. I will say some things to him, and he's still got that young blood in him. So sometimes he bristles, but he actually gives it thought. No, he does. He will call me. I think I told you, later on this week on Wednesday, I'm heading to Virginia to visit
Yeah,
my
on
son.
13th. Yeah.
Yep, my wife has one of her close friends coming to visit her, and the two ladies, they're doing their thing. I'm going to go visit my son, I was just speaking to him this morning, and he will ask me things. He's like, hey, I want to discuss these things with you when you come up. We're gonna go have dinner, and he says, and I'm gonna buy you dinner. It brought tears to my eyes, because my son is now a man. He's gonna buy me dinner. Okay. uh, but the thing is that your relationships evolve, whether that be with your family, with your friends. Somebody who's friends with you today may not be friends with you 20 years from now. At the same time, you will have friends that have been friends for you for decades. More, I mean, I have a friend. His name is Bill. His family name is Ashton, and in every one of my books, you hear me write about Mom and Dad Ashton. I met him when I was 17, and his family has kind of become like my family. I call his dad passed away too, but I call them Mom and Dad Ashton, because and they, now just she's still alive. She lives close by. She says, I have three sons, not just two, because she counts me as one. But I've been part of that family for the last 41 years, well, 42 years, right? But at the same time, just like I said, not everybody stays friends. There were friends at certain stages of my life where, as we grew, I changed, they changed, and suddenly that mesh wasn't there. The moral compass is no longer aligned. And then we went our separate ways, which is okay. Life's a journey. As you keep walking, not everybody walks at your same pace. Not everybody goes in the direction that you're going.
Yeah. The same relationship you had when you said about the friend, the one you met at 70. I have a same friend, same relationship. I met him when he was in 600. The thing is, I still remember how we became friends. It was the last period of a class. he he told me very stupid thing. He told me, "Do you know Michael Jackson?" I said, "Yeah." He said, if in corridors, if anybody starts singing the Michael Jackson song, I'm gonna go dance." I was like, "You're crazy, huh?" We became friends in class 6, 7th, 8th. I used to go and hang out with him. We used to bunk school and go go to a pond. We used to take bath. So we became friends like this. Slowly, we evolved to being brothers. And now, I recently had trouble with my grandfather. He's 92 years old, so he was paralyzed, right? So I was in the hospital, in the government hospital, just running for the tests, for everything. So he was there for me. So my mother and dad told me that, yeah, we don't just have one son now, we have a two son. Exactly
Exactly.
same.
Exactly.
And I feel really lucky. I have no friends. Friend is a very powerful tool to say. Like you said, you are friendly with everybody, but you're friends with some, right? So
Yes.
friend is a very powerful tool. So you have to be careful who you call your friend. So I don't have any friends, but I have a brother. It's been 8 years right now. Right, we are still young, but he has never left me in any troubles. Never. And uh, I'm so lucky. Sometimes I feel like I should have friends. When I see on social media, I see people my age hanging out with a lot of people. Then I give a pep talk to myself, like, remember, everything that you see on the social media is not true. And people have many friends, the so-called friends, but they deeply desire to have that one brother, that one friend, who is very loyal for them. So I think, like as you said, you are lucky too, and yeah, I'm lucky to to have him.
No,
He never,
absolutely. And see,
yeah,
and that's what I mean by being friendly with everybody, being friends with very few people. And those
yeah,
are the people you can count on. So my friend Bill right now lives in Texas. Okay. Mom Ashton lives about 2 hours from where I live. And Bill knows, when we have a hurricane, when we have something, Mom Ashton picks up the
yeah,
phone and says, Atul, Patricia, I need something. We both will jump in the car and drive 2 hours. We'll be there in 2 hours and 15 minutes because as soon as she calls, 15 minutes later, we are driving to go to her house. Whatever she's about the same age. She's 82, 83 years old, right? And Dad Ashton passed away. So when something happens, those are the close relationships that you count on. Those are the people, and you're very fortunate that you found somebody like that. And
yeah,
those are the relationships you treasure. So when this friend of yours says something, you need to give it a lot of weight versus
yeah.
someone else. So that's what I meant by, constructive criticism from people close to you versus the average Joe that is saying something, that may or may not be in your best interests.
I said yeah, that's the thing. Making relationship is very important, and you have to know, like we say that I have seen people, calling everybody as their friend, but you have to be careful with that, because friend is a very powerful tool. So make that relationship, very, be very selective about it, right? Yeah. You won't get disappointed, at least, if you don't call friends
Well, you
everyone.
might. You might.
Yeah.
And that's okay. See, that's the thing. Life is not about avoiding disappointments. Life is sort of learning from them. Okay? You know what? People change. People
Yeah,
change. Okay?
people change. Yeah.
And like I said, we all have that journey through life. People who were I was close with, not everybody. Obviously, there are some people who I was close with in my 30s. They have gone on a different path than I've decided to go, and I made a whole new set of people that I'm friendly with and stuff. Now, yes, the close friends who are kind of like part of your family, those are very few. But it's okay to be friendly and polite to everybody.
Yeah. Be friendly and polite with everybody, but don't be too open to everybody. Be
Exactly.
vulnerable and open to the people who you trust, who you know that they are your people. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Be friendly and polite. You don't have to open your safe and show them what's in there,
Yeah.
until they're part of your family.
Yeah. Don't discuss your problem with everybody.
Yeah, that's what I mean by safe. I don't mean,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I'm
I get
talking
it.
about yeah, you know what I mean.
Okay, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for clarifying that for your viewers. So,
Tell me, what mistake you have made early in your career that taught you a very valuable lesson?
The biggest mistake I made was arrogance. Arrogance. Okay,
Arrogance.
success breeds arrogance, and it goes back to uh, Judy Sullivan. I mentioned she was a big influence in my life. So
Yeah.
I was doing my MBA and I was working, and she gave me. She promoted me. I think I was director of operations at the time for her corporation, and I'm studying, and things are going on, and there was a gentleman there. His name was Larry Gress. So some names you never forget in your lifetime. Her name was Judy Sullivan. So, and he was a technical manager. And, you know, being an operations director, my job was schedule. Being a technical manager, his job was making sure things were done right. And those things always clashed because he wanted more time. I wanted things to go out the door. And we kept clashing and clashing and clashing. And one day I go into Judy's office. Hey, and she's like, come in. We had become very close. She was treating me like a son at that point. Come in, and she goes, what's the problem? And I said, well, the technical manager, Larry Gress, oh my God, what a jerk he is. And she tells me, she says, did I hire an asshole? Okay. And I'm thinking she's talking about Larry, right? And I'm saying, I think so. He said, okay, before you say anything else, I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
And choose your words very carefully over the next 5 minutes. And she had a tone in her voice that I'd never heard before. Right? I have, but I heard it from my mom. Okay. So I'm like, okay. She says, my husband's name's John Sullivan. I said, yeah, I know that. I met him. And she says, you know what my name was before I got married? No. She said, my name was Judy Gress. I'm going, and Larry Gress? She said, he's my baby brother. And she says, so? And I'm like, well, I'm having issues with him. She says, learn how to work it out. She says, I've known Larry my entire life. He's not arrogant. Think about that. And she left it at that. And that was a big, a wake up call for me. And I actually had to relearn how, because I assumed management meant beating down on people. And I had to learn that management meant more working with people. And once again, be careful whose toes you step on because they may be connected to. Exactly. So, and actually, Larry and I became friends, and we went to Judy's funeral together, and stuff like that. But the thing is, being made a very young director, it bred in me a certain arrogance. And that almost led to the ending of my career. Can you imagine if Judy had fired me then? I would be in a completely different, who knows where I would be. Right. So yeah, my biggest, I won't call it a regret. It's a mistake. And I learned from it was arrogance, thinking that, hey, I know this stuff. I know better than, when I was not the technical guy anymore, thinking I knew better than the technical guy.
Yeah. Arrogance, ego, these are things.
They can
Young
go hand
people,
in hand.
yeah. It's very hard to put that aside. I mean, sometimes ego is great because that that boosts you. I mean, motivates you even to not settle for average or to go for ambitious. Ego can be arrogance for somewhere. Like I was a basketball player. I used to play ball, right? You are showing arrogance in the field. That's good. That's the good thing for the spirit. Like Michael Jordan, he was an arrogant, right? Everybody called him, you know what, right? So that's the thing. Arrogance, place is necessary, but if you are showing arrogance in the place where unity is required, then like if you're showing arrogance with your own teammate.
Exactly. There's a play. Everything is good. Like I said, your best qualities are also your worst faults. Okay, it's always the same. It's two sides of the same coin. The very thing that makes you successful will also make you unsuccessful,
And
because
successful.
if
Yeah.
you take it that one step further, where do you cross that line that goes from being confident to being arrogant? And if you figure that out, let me know, because I haven't. But that's the balance, right? Having that confidence, but not letting that confidence transition into arrogance. And that's that borderline that you have to walk.
What's one advice you would like to give to me and the audience?
Don't be afraid to try new things, even if it means failing. Okay? You're going to have setbacks in life. Nobody in life has survived without setbacks. All right? Everyone has had setbacks. I remember when I was working, I was 22 years old. I was working my first job, and things were cushy, not anything big, but enough to make things survive. And suddenly they had a massive layoff, right? And once again, I went back to the bank. I looked, and I'm like, okay, we have about 3 weeks to survive, and then they've given us some severance pay. I have to find a job. Okay, you cannot worry about what if. When something happens, first thing you think about, yes, it's okay to say, oh shit, but that's, if you don't say that, that then you're not human. Okay, human reaction is to go, oh my god, something happened.
Yeah.
It's okay, but the next step after that should be, what do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to go to that next, whatever that next step is? It doesn't matter what it is. After you get over that initial, oh my god, something happened, right? Not what I planned. The plan is out the window. Well, what are the next steps? So don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail. But after that initial reaction, the first thing you think about is, what do I do to keep moving forward? And if there's one piece of advice, that's what I can give.
That's great advice. Yeah, people need to hear that. People are too afraid to try new things. They think responsibility is holding them back. Uh, it's true, responsibility is holding them back. I mean, everybody has responsibility. You had responsibilities when you thought to try the business. You were lucky you got a wife who was very supportive for you. That's the thing. But still,
No,
the
but
biggest thing was,
the thing is, sorry to cut you off, but see, responsibilities is putting food on the table.
you know,
Okay, we live in a time where the world is at our fingertips, right? Yeah, until you succeed at something else. I'm talking about for you, right? Everybody has to do that 9 to 5 to put food on the table, but there's tons of other hours in the day where you can do things. Try those things, and you have that safety net. You're working your day job. You can still try the side hustle until
hmm,
it gets successful.
hmm,
You don't have to be like Cortez. You don't have to burn your ships and then fight your way inland, right? You can keep your day job and try, because here's the thing: you don't need to run to a library. You don't need to go stand in front of 20 people to give your message. You can give it on the internet. Or if it's something else, if somebody wants to be an artist, right? Do your day job and then paint in the evening. Who knows, your painting will start taking off and selling. But do that, you know, don't stress, walk away from your responsibilities. That would be irresponsible, you know,
yeah,
right? Don't walk away from that, but at the same time, make time for other things as well,
yeah, for
if
the
you truly
things you
believe
love.
it.
Yeah. The biggest thing is believing in yourself and believing in the work or the
100%.
or in the vision you think that you can make it happen. The biggest thing is believing in that. If Edison didn't believe in himself that he could do that, if Musk didn't believe he could do the impossible, if Jobs didn't think that he could do that, it's then he would have not. So the biggest thing is just believe in yourself. I think that yeah, I can become a great podcaster. Help people out. I've just started with one people. I just received my first review, a very honest review, and it made me happy. Maybe after some time, I could help many people. I could help myself. The biggest thing is I could help myself. So this is the things. You have to believe in yourself that yeah, you can do it. If you think you can't do it, then you're wasting your time and other resources. Yeah, right. This thing. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming
No,
here. And
no,
sharing your
thank
knowledge.
you. Thank you for making time. Thank you
You know,
for, carrying my message forward. I appreciate it.